Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference Meet the Presenter series. And today I am delighted to be joined by Garry Coles. Gary is a clinical and medical hypnotherapist and has been doing this for 20 years. Now, Gary and I have known each other a while. We've met at a few conferences. Gary, for those people who don't know, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yes, hello. I'm looking forward to being back in Dublin for the conference. Yeah, a little bit about me for people that have never met me before. I've been a full-time hypnotherapist for over 20 years now. I'm one of the few in the UK. I've got a master's degree in clinical hypnotherapy and psychology, and that was actually given to me. I did some groundbreaking research. I did a study into pre-surgical hypnosis and the effects that had on the recovery quality in breast cancer operations.
Hmm.
Now, I've also spent 19 years contracted to the NHS in an oncology unit. So hypno-oncology, that's interventions for the cancer journey, is really my specialism. I've got one book out on it. I've got another one in progress, and I actually teach hypnotherapists and doctors all around the world how to work with cancer patients. I've done more than 30 conferences around the world, taught hundreds of people. I run a monthly mentoring group where I get guests all around the world as well. And accolades. I was the UK Hypnosis Convention in 2016 claimed I was one of the top 30 hypnotherapists in the world, and the Mid America in 2024 gave me the accolade of Medical Hypnotist of the Year
Oh,
in the US. So that's a brief bit about where I'm coming from.
well, we're amongst esteemed company then, so that's good. Now, whenever you, well, obviously we met in Dublin 2 years ago, I think it was. But well, what I'm getting at is, obviously you've presented with us before. Okay, now this
Absolutely,
time,
yeah.
whenever
This is
you
my
come back,
third time.
yes, correct. This time, whenever you're coming back with us, obviously I've been to see some of your, well, all of your presentations actually. But with the likes of this time, why should people come and see you? If you could tell us a little bit about what you're presenting about this time in
Yeah,
Ireland.
something a bit different this time. People are used to seeing me doing academic subjects like hypno-oncology and psychoneuroimmunology, but this one is a complete sort of departure from that, and it's actually quite a useful one, I think, for both experienced hypnotherapists, but certainly perhaps newer hypnotherapists, because
Hmm.
having over 28 years of experience, and I've had over 10,000 sessions in that time, and working both in a hospital and a doctor's surgery as well, I get a lot of very, very difficult cases.
Yeah.
I also get a lot of cases referred on to me from other hypnotherapists who don't think they can actually deal with them because they're rather complicated. Um, because of that, I've had a lot of cases over the years that have been very complicated, very difficult, and I've certainly had a lot that have really thrown me. They've come up with things that I just was not expecting, to the extent that I've had to really think outside the box. So
Okay.
I've put this talk called sort of was it thinking outside the box? What happens if the client throws you a curveball?
Mm.
And it's looking at some of the ways of why I can think outside the box, for example, and I'm also going to try and make this humorous as well as very sort of a lot of teaching stuff, teaching tales, and a lot of it is based on case histories.
Okay.
It's also based on some of the ways that I've thought outside the box or been taught to think outside the box. For example, I'm going to talk about one of my studies I did as well as doing my master's degree. I've studied with lots of people all over the world. And one of the things that I did do, which again, thinking outside the box, I went and studied voodoo tribes in Africa. And I learnt some interesting and quite amusing things on the way that people perceive things and the fact that a lot of it is about belief systems.
Hmm.
And that's a huge thing. And by using belief systems, there's an awful lot you can cope with thinking outside the box. And the examples, I mean, one of the worst phrases I hear from hospital is always, "We've booked a patient in for you. The counsellors think it would be a good idea." Well, that basically means they've had months of counselling, they've got absolutely nowhere, and they think, "Oh, bung them on the hypnotherapist, let them
Yeah.
sort it out."
Yeah.
And some of the cases I've had there have been quite both amusing and quite phenomenal.
Mm.
And thinking outside the box, I've dealt with things that you would say that as hypnotherapists we shouldn't deal with.
Okay.
I've dealt, for example, with quite psychotic people, different types of
Okay.
psychosis, which we know are contraindicated, but these have been sent to me by their psychiatrists to work with
Okay.
and overseen. So some of that's been interesting and how I've had to think outside the box. some cases of people that can't visualize, people, one in particular I'm going to talk about, which was the first one that made me think outside the box, was a lady sent to me by, again, the counsellors, who had a severe sleep phobia. And it got to
Okay.
the extent that her sleep phobia was so bad that she couldn't sit down, relax, or close her eyes because all of it made her freak out. So
Wow.
again, as a hypnotherapist, what do we normally get people to do? Relax,
Yeah.
sit down, close their eyes. So
Yeah.
again, I will explain how I dealt with that one. Uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of other amusing things. I've worked with people with sort of have had alternate personalities, if you like, split personalities
Mm,
and things like that. So I've ended up working with each personality with something different,
yeah.
and all sorts of things. And some sessions, even with thinking outside the box, some sessions do go wrong. Some sessions they do go wrong, and you can't bring them back.
Yeah.
And I will be quite open. I've had some absolute disasters. Not many, admittedly, but I've had a couple of absolute disasters, and I'm going to give you those as well, just to show that this is all real stuff and not.
Yeah. Because I think that's important to actually learn because there's a lot of in our industry of like everybody it works, it doesn't work 100% all the time. It never goes the way you think it will be. Like you can't. This is why I think this is an important presentation, is because there are times when the brown stuff hits the fan and you
Yeah,
go, wasn't expecting that. Like what you described there with the lady who had the fear of closing her eyes, couldn't, all that. I had something similar once where there was a guy, he had a full blown panic attack when he closed his eyes. And I was
yeah,
like, what am I going to do here? And obviously, we know other things how to get around it. But at the same time, initially, you're like going, oh,
yeah.
crap.
Wasn't expecting that.
What do I do? So it's like, I think that's important to know because realistically, some of them aren't recoverable, right? We know that. But I would say 90% of the time, maybe higher, they are. It's
They
just
are,
being
yeah,
able
yeah,
to,
yeah.
to, to work on your feet and think about it quickly. And
Yeah,
that's, I think, in
yeah, and I
essence,
would say a lot of, I mean, I had one that, yes, it wasn't recoverable at the time, but in subsequent sessions
correct.
were. Um,
Yes,
I mean, the ones that I would say are not recoverable, really, it comes down to perhaps the client or the patient not wanting to invest in it or expecting miracles.
100%.
And there's
100,
reasons I will go into a
that's
couple of examples of that as well.
yeah, I have as well. It's or they've been sent by the wife or been sent by, and this is not apparent until they arrive, and you're like,
Yeah,
okay, they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
wanting to
yeah,
be there
yeah,
at all.
yeah. The secondary gain syndrome. Yeah,
Yes, exactly, exactly. But no, so the main takeaway of what your presentation would be for if you're, I think we've summarized it enough, but if you were to put it into like a very brief sentence, what was the main takeaways of your presentation that you want
yeah.
people to get?
I'm going to give tips of what I think are the main. Well, I give tips for new hypnotherapists
Mhm.
on what you need to do to improve yourself. What areas you need to really think about and look at. But really, it's that it's giving you the confidence that if you're in a situation where you think, oh, what do I do now? Hopefully, I'll give you some takeaways, some inspiration of things that I've done, which in turn will allow you to think, yes, I'll do this, or I'll do
Yeah.
this, or I'll do this. So it'll give you a way, instead of being flustered and not knowing what to do, hopefully my experiences will give you the confidence to go forward and actually resolve
Yeah.
whatever needs resolving.
See, that's important because one of the things you said there, which I think is something that we're trying to, John and I and Carl and Stephen, we're all trying to get ahead of with this conference is we want to better and promote hypnotherapy as a go-to therapy rather than a last resort type of thing.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you said there, which was interesting, was for new hypnotherapists. We want to get new hypnotherapists to come to the conference because you can't learn what you're describing without being there.
No, and a lot of what I've come through is okay. Yeah, I've got over 20 years of experience, and
Hmm.
hospital doctors and training all around the world. So yes, when you've done that sort of hours, you will come across lots of weird stuff, and the only way you're going to learn from that is experience.
Correct.
Now, hopefully, I can pass some of my experience on to newer or less experienced people to perhaps save them some of the pitfalls.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what's important about what you're saying as well is yes, you have all the academia behind you, but at the same time, it's Gary. You and I have been in Temple Bar having
Yeah,
pints of Guinness, and it's like
absolutely.
we're just people that get on, and that's the thing. We want people to realize that coming to the conference is a very safe space where you can come and meet people with vast amounts of experience, but who just become friends. you know?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and there's so much to learn. There's so
Mm.
much social stuff, and even in fact, another outside the box one actually, which isn't in my talk, but perhaps I should include it, was actually there last year or this year. I actually went out on one of the first days there, and we actually went down to one of the bars in town, a music bar, absolutely packed. I think it was either Thursday or Friday afternoon, and a group of us went down there. It was absolutely heaving. There was a band playing, so very, very loud.
Hmm.
And a hen party came in, and the bride, I don't know why, but the bride had a panic attack.
Oh.
And as she was doing that, I saw that, and I went up and sort of introduced myself and said, I'm a hypnotist. Would you like me to help you?" And I actually did a session with her, standing up in a packed bar with a band playing, and actually
Mhm.
resolved the issue. So
Yep.
again, if you've got the will and the confidence, you can do it.
Anywhere. Exactly. And I suppose what I'm asking everybody, who I'm talking to is, conferences we know are a great place to meet and learn. But if you were someone watching this
Yeah.
who was maybe in two minds as to whether or not to attend a conference, especially the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference, but if you were someone, what would you say to someone to sort of just help them along and what the important things, why is it important to come to the likes of the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference?
I think conferences in general are brilliant. A lot
Mm.
of people don't realize, they just think, oh, somebody's gonna sell me stuff, and that's not the case.
No.
You get a lot of top presenters giving a lot of their time. There's a lot of takeaways, a lot of knowledge and
Yeah.
different approaches, and you might learn approaches that you've never thought of, or little ways. Just even when I get a conference, as I said, I've presented at over 30 odd, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, but I still go and see as many talks as I can.
Yep.
And there's a lot of little takeaways. There might be just one phrase or one
Yeah.
simple way of doing something slightly different that I will incorporate in how I'm going to work.
Hmm.
So that's great. There's always stuff to learn. There's always new approaches or even new topics that you might like to get
Yeah.
involved in. Different
Yeah.
niches. You might find something that suddenly, oh yeah, that's interesting. I'd like to niche in that area.
Yeah.
So again, you can learn from that. Um, Another good thing is making connections, meeting people.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people that become friends, so you go out and we have a great time socially.
Hmm.
But also, I've met people at conferences that have ended up booking me to do training courses at other venues around the world,
Yeah.
or sign me up to do mentoring groups for them and all sorts of stuff. And I do my own monthly mentoring. And again, I've met people at conferences that I have as guests coming on to my mentoring group. So it's a great, as you said, it's a great safe space. It's a good space for learning, but also having fun and
Yeah.
making connections and friends.
100%. And basically, Gary, I would encourage everyone to come and see you because I've seen you and you do really good presentations. The information you give and impart is vast. And I would very much like to welcome everyone to come and see you on the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference this coming time. And firstly, thank you very much for your time. And secondly,
Thank you for inviting me
have
on.
a
It's
good
been a
rest of
pleasure
the day.
seeing you there and having the odd Guinness.
Yeah. Oh, never, never. All right, sir. Have a good day.
Oh, all right. That worked out about right. Like my lights just fallen over.
Oh, no, no, no. We're all good. All right. Thanks, Gary.
All right. Cheers then.
Bye.